As you remember, I donated the flagpoles, one on each side, because the White House didn't really have an appropriate American flag. It had a small one on top. We left that, but it didn't have an appropriate American flag. And this is a great pole. This is the top of the line. It's tapered. This isn't a straight up and down job, which looks terrible, frankly. That's a tapered pole. Great. I'm very good at flagpoles.
I'm sorry. My few remaining brain cells just jumped out of my skull to put themselves out of their agony. Welcome to this week's episode of Trump Trolls Trump. I'm Mary Trump, and I am not very good at flagpoles because who fucking cares? Yes, it is week 83, and it is so comforting to see that Donald Trump continues to have his fingers on the pulse of what really matters to the American people. Get bent, Donald. Anyway, it's been 579 days since the beginning of the largest renovation project in American history. And when I say renovation, I mean wholesale destruction of what used to be the People's House. It's almost like we called in a really bad contractor who knows absolutely nothing about building. And that person immediately tore out all of the load-bearing walls, demolished half of the building, destroyed the pool, and got the neighbors really angry. And then we're told that somehow we are $40 trillion over budget. Oh, wait a second. That's exactly what happened. Because Donald can lie through his teeth all he wants that he's a good builder, but look at the devastation that is currently the grounds of the White House. The midterms are just 74 days away, and in Illinois, the governor's race is heating up. Democratic Governor J.B. Pritzker is once again facing Darren Bailey, the MAGA former state senator he beat pretty decisively in 2022. Bailey and his wife founded the Full Armor Christian Academy. That sounds, I don't know, very love your neighbor of them. And this has come under scrutiny for using a Bob Jones University science curriculum that taught dinosaurs and human beings lived on Earth at the same time. I wondered, did Eve have to ride side saddle? I don't know. Probably, because, women are inferior and have to wear skirts all the time. Apparently, these people actually thought that the Flintstones was a documentary. Rock, dinosaur, tumbleweed. This week, WGN News in Chicago gave Bailey a chance to respond to criticism that he's too extreme. Who thinks that? Oh, that's right. Sane people. Let's see how this went.
How is it not extreme that education in Illinois is failing our children? All of that, J.B. Pritzker owns because he created it.
There are also these silly things that the campaign is doing. For example, at the state fair here today, they're having dinosaurs show up. They say that at the school that you founded, there's curriculum that teaches that dinosaurs and man walked the earth at the same time. Of course, there's 65 million year difference. How do you respond and interact where Pritzker has $65 million that he can spend on efforts like that?
Well, I'll simply ask him, was he there, number one, because I think every day we're learning wonderful things about history in the past, but first and foremost,
well, but dinosaurs and men were...
he's going to use his $65 million to distort the truth.
But dinosaurs and men did not walk the earth at the same time, right?
Were you there?
I wasn't there, but that's what,
either.
No, but that's what the science says, though.
Well,
that's settled, right?
I wasn't there, so...
That's sane. Yes. If that guy gets in as governor, the education system in Illinois will be in very, very, very serious trouble. Because again, dinosaurs went extinct about 65 million years ago, and Homo sapiens have been around, I don't know, few 100,000 years, maybe. I should know this exactly, but there's a 65 million year gap between dinosaurs and humans, but he wasn't there. So how do we know? Let's talk about another embattled species under threat of extinction. That would be cattle. Yes, cattle. And I know this because Secretary of Agriculture, Brooke Rollins, speaking of stupidity masquerading as smug self-righteousness, has said that there is a war on cattle. Yeah. In some instances, trigger warning. They're being killed. That's right. People are killing cows and eating them. 579 days into Trump 2.0, who could possibly be to blame for all of this? Well, there could only be one person. There is only ever one person. To update a phrase from that person about one Rudolph Giuliani, quote, every defense of Donald now comes down to three things: a noun, a verb, and blame it on Joe Biden, of course. I personally have already marked on my calendar to blame Joe Biden for the hip replacement I'm going to need in about 20 years. F you, Joe. Rollins, infamous backyard chicken lady, went on Fox Day TV Business Edition to blame high beef prices on, yes, Joe Biden, his unrelenting, inexcusable, and bizarre war on cattle.
I'm going to start by asking you what the Department of Agriculture is doing to bring beef prices down for Americans.
Well, first of all, Jackie, it's so great to be on with you again. Thank you so much for having me. Listen, what we are facing in America today is the direct result of a war on cattle by the previous administration. Frankly, a war on agriculture and a war on farming in general. When you've got a prior administration that is basically blaming cattle for their crazy climate agenda, then you have a real problem.
No. Cattle are lovely, gentle little creatures. Basically, what we're saying is that meat producers are responsible for massive amounts of deforestation, which are exacerbating and accelerating catastrophic climate change. That's all. Leave the cattle alone. And for this point, leave Joe Biden alone. Nobody even remembers who he is anymore, quite frankly. This apparently is Trump Trolls Trump Animal Edition, because now we have to talk about puppies, which thankfully are not under assault. There is no war on puppies, as far as I'm aware. So if you think the Illinois governor's race is getting weird because people are saddling up their pet dinosaurs, wait until you hear what's happening in the Texas Senate race. That would be between the vile and corrupt Attorney General Ken Paxton and the Democratic candidate James Talarico. Talarico is making the case that his Republican opponent apparently hates puppies and is running on an anti-puppy agenda. Big if true. Talarico was on MS Now with Ollie Velshi to plead his case.
Ken Paxton is anti-puppy, and I wish I was joking when I said that, but reports just came out revealing that as Attorney General, Ken Paxton protected a research lab that was notorious for torturing and killing hundreds of puppies. And then as a state lawmaker in the Texas legislature, Ken Paxton was one of the only votes against a bill to hold animal abusers accountable. So Ken Paxton never misses an opportunity to do the wrong thing, and he won't fight for the little guy, even when the little guy is literally a puppy.
Ken Paxton was asked to comment, but he could not be reached because he was having dinner with Michael Vick. By now, you've probably heard the quote from Georgia Senator Jon Ossoff at a campaign rally earlier this week that went viral. What's even more fascinating and predictable is the fake outrage over the right over it, which, by the way, just magnified Ossoff's kind of offhand statement. I'm not going to show the clip, but this is what Ossoff said. Quote, and while the sailors on the Lincoln fight his war, while he fruitlessly drains our munitions and oil reserves, Donald sleeps through his meetings. He golfs and trades stocks. See, he doesn't want to do the job. He wants to build his ballroom and travel with Natalie on their apparently defenseless flying palace gifted by the Emir of Qatar, unquote. That's it. He randomly names this one person most people had never heard of before. And the right lost its flipping mind. So now everybody knows who Natalie Harp is. She's the new bleach blonde in the White House who seems to have replaced Caroline Leavitt in Donald's affections. Caroline Leavitt went on maternity leave and came back to discover that not only was she no longer Donald's favorite bleach blonde, he also didn't care if she lived or died because she was left on the decoy plane. And Natalie Harp, yep, she went with Donald in the catering car. Fox State TV has been absolutely beside itself over this. And rather than just explain the outrage, I just want to watch you a little bit of what's been going on from former George W. Bush press secretary, Dana Perino.
You got to get the clicks and all that kind of stuff. But we need answers. The country needs that more than we need clicks.
And Emily, I mean, who can blame a member of the party of Bill Clinton for seeing a female staffer and only thinking of one thing? I mean, they all laughed. They all get the joke. Like, if they had dealt with that back in 1997, they might not continue to have this problem.
Is she talking about this guy? I'm pretty sure she's not talking about that guy. But by the way, the two things have nothing to do with each other. Those situations very different. Monica Lewinsky was 22 years old when Bill Clinton abused his power to have a relationship with her. Natalie Harp is a 35-year-old woman, and she's responsible for her own actions, and Donald is responsible for his. It isn't that there may or may not be some inappropriate sexual liaison between the two of them, which would be, sorry to have put that in your heads. It's the fact that she's young enough to be his granddaughter. It took her a year before she was willing to get a security clearance. She has been in his orbit almost constantly. The American taxpayer pay her friggin' salary, and nobody knows what she does for the American people. Clearly, she is there to prop up Donald's fragile ego and tell him how much she loves him while also printing out flattering articles about himself, which, by the way, she can only find in tabloids. The performative pearl clutching from the right over all of this has been quite something. But there's also the beginning of a new round of character assassination of Ossoff. And Fox State TV is really piling it on there. Let's watch Laura Ingraham as she goes after the Georgia senator with a very odd claim.
Last month, the Washington Free Beacon reported that Ossoff spent more on makeup than any federal candidate this year, beating out AOC and Rashida Tlaib. And beneath all that pancake bronzer and all of that rouge, then we have an ambitious man, but one without a core. That's the most dangerous kind of politician out there.
Was she talking about this guy? I sometimes think these people have absolutely no self-awareness whatsoever. She literally was describing Donald. If you enjoyed this kind of content, please drop us a like and subscribe to the channel. And don't forget to leave a comment below. Your support really does make a difference. Thanks. We've been hearing a lot about aforementioned Natalie Harp, but you know who we haven't been hearing from? In fact, we haven't seen her since July 19th at the World Cup, which, by the way, has been glorious. She missed the rescheduled White House Correspondents' Dinner. She skipped Lindsey Graham's funeral. Unbelievably enough, she missed the Patriot games, which looked like they were really fun. But then she suddenly reappeared for one of her great passions, one I'm sure most of us share: IndyCar racing in downtown DC. So here she is with her pseudo-husband, Donald, entering the Rose Garden for one of the most carefully choreographed photo ops of the year, for which I have no doubt she was handsomely paid.
Good afternoon. I heard you missed me. Here I am.
See, that's funny because nobody misses her. The world is a much better place when she stays inside and out of view. Also, it was fascinating that they actually kept having to try to get people to applaud. But yeah, I mean, that woman is married to that lumbering Hulk, and she needs to bail him out because he's spending all of his time with another woman who's young enough to be his granddaughter. But as I said, Melania gets paid well to pretend that she can bear to be in the presence of Donald. I'm sure she sends Natalie Harp thank you notes on a daily basis. But things are bad because Melania showed up and they even gave her a helmet. There's an interesting little arrangement here. Donald created a new IndyCar race by executive order to be held in the streets of D.C. this weekend. Fox Corporation, the parent company of Fox and Fox Sports, owns a 1/3 stake in IndyCar's parent company, Penske Entertainment. What a coincidence. And now Fox Sports and IndyCar are putting up $2 million for scholarships through Melania's Foster Youth Initiative. So it's a donation, and I'm sure that money is going to be used in the way they tell us it's going to be. But what really stood out was I can't say happy couple because that would be lying. Didn't seem to spend much time anywhere near each other. Wow. They are just brimming with warmth and affection for each other. By the way, I lip read. So at the beginning of that clip, when Donald bent over to talk to some guy, what he was saying is, "Where's Natalie? I need Natalie." For the first time in a while, we didn't see Melania like slap his hand away or scowl at him. But then again, of course, she got a pretty big check. Although, not as much as she usually gets for public appearances. And certainly not as much as she usually gets for pretending she can stand that creep she's married to, whom she richly deserves, by the way. All right, that does it for us. Thank you so much for watching this week's episode of Trump Trolls Trump. We'll be back next week because mockery is our superpower and they keep giving us material. Please like and share this video with your friends and enemies because they'll hate it. And subscribe to our channel. We'll see you next week.